Welcome in, everybody of the MIFFL League. My name is Zach, aka Schultz, and I am super pumped to be doing this with you guys. We are kicking off a new project doing personalized podcasts for dynasty leagues, keeper leagues. If you got a fantasy league and want some new people to talk about it rather than your loser friends in the league, well, find some losers like us to do it because we're here. So we're gonna kick it around. I got Alex up here above me, Dennis in the corner, and Ryan on the bottom with me. We're kind of Brady bunching it up over here, but it's all good. We're gonna do it. We're just gonna kick it through. We're gonna give you guys a rundown. We broke it up by division. I've got the Northwest. Alex has Northeast. Dennis has the Southwest, and Ryan has Southeast. So we're just going to go one by one for you guys, talk about your teams, maybe get each other's input, and maybe offer some suggestions on, how to build in the draft, maybe some moves you'd like to make, or maybe how we'd handle your season if we were the manager. We're just going to have some fun here. Probably maybe roast a few of you, maybe roast each other. Who the fuck knows? We're just here to have a good time. Anywho, let's kick it off. And the first team I'm going to be talking today is with Human Missile. And we got ourselves a little squad here, guys. I like this one to kick it off first because the first two keepers we got here, Justin Fields and Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, it's a 1 QB league. I'm keeping 2 quarterbacks if I'm him. We got Justin Fields just absolutely owning everything coming off last season. I expect him to hit the ground running, literally. Passing games coming in hot. DJ Moore. I love Justin Fields this year. And you get to back him up with Tua. I mean, you got the huge ceiling here. You got a little bit of health risk. But Tua's in the literal perfect offense for his skill set. He's got massive playmakers around him. You are set, my friend, at quarterback. If there's one thing quarterback-wise, I might take a stab at like a cheap guy late, with some big upside. I'm a Sam Howell guy. I like that he can run. And I think he's going to get a shot in a lot of garbage time. So that might be like a cool guy I'm thinking about stashing. Running backs. First up, we got Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders, James Conner, Raheem Mostert are the 4 I'm keeping. That's a nice little core here. You're talking Jacobs and Sanders. You could potentially be moving forward with those guys for a long time still. Conner, absolute smash spot this year. I don't get why he's not being talked about more. Arizona did nothing to upgrade that running back room.
Definitely.
He was already getting all of the carries. When Kyler was hurt, his points just skyrocket. This doesn't make any sense to me. You're keeping Conner. You aren't thinking twice. He's your running back 3. Whew, let's go. And Mostert, he's just a solid dude. He gets his games every year. People get hurt. He gets hurt too, shit. But he's just a solid asset to have. And to knock him as your running back 4, I feel really comfortable about that. And you might be looking to add a little bit of depth here, but to start your season off, that's a nice little room you got. Over to wide receivers, we're talking Chris Olave and Calvin Ridley. Whew, my boy Calvin Ridley. I can't wait to watch him. But Chris Olave, what a rookie season for this dude. I mean, coming out of Ohio State, he was kind of afterthought a little bit because of the other dudes, and he sure showed his worth, man. Really excited to see what he does this year, and especially with Derek Carr. Carr takes a lot of flack, but he's just good. Like he's not elite, but he's just a good quarterback, and obviously I consider that an upgrade over Jameis and Andy Dalton. So I expect Olave to have another wonderful year, and you get to keep him for a very, very long time, my friend. So bravo there. I'm also keeping Tyler Boyd to round you out there for 3 wide receivers. So definitely looking to attack there some more. 3 isn't super deep, considering especially some of the other teams who will be keeping more. But Tyler Boyd is just another solid option to have. He gets obviously all the slot snaps there in Cincinnati, and high flying passing offense. The targets come, and he's proven really reliable for Burrow. So I'm slapping him as the other keeper. And the last one on this team, Evan Ingram. Damn, did this dude show? Hardcore Jags fan here, as obviously by the hat and the Trevor Lawrence poster behind me. I was out on this dude when they signed him. I was like, this dude can't catch. Like, I don't want to spend the money on this guy. Like, what the crap? I thought I was right. And then I don't know what clicked with the guy, but all of us, I know what clicked. Doug Peterson clicked. And this dude is legit now. He's finally in a system where they're using his athleticism right on these little drag route, option route, stuff like that. Where I feel like you used to watch the Giants and they're like, you big, fast, strong man, run down the seam. And that's all they did. And I don't know, Doug has been a wizard for this guy. And so to round out, get yourself a nice starting tight end. I like this pack of 10 keepers a lot. I think you might find yourself making a run here this year. If things fall the right way, get some injuries. You never know. But sky's looking up here for Human Missile. And if things don't maybe fall the way you want, you could maybe sell off a couple guys, add some picks. But overall, I like the position this team's moving right now. Not a lot of nice young pieces. And I mean, yeah, we're talking four good running backs and 2 solid quarterbacks to kick you off. I like it. I think you're in a good position moving forward. Anyone got any thoughts?
Yeah, I can jump in real quick. I agree with you. I think this is like one of the more well-rounded rosters out of the entire league, I think, because, I mean, of course, they're top heavy with Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders and running back and stuff like that. But like you said, James Conner is a 3. You can't beat that. I'm a huge James Conner apologist. I had him ranked entirely too high last year, but it kind of proved me right towards the end of the season with how well he kind of popped off. And like you said, we don't know how long Kyler Murray is going to miss. So when Kyler Murray's off the field, it's all James Conner inside the 20s. So he's going to have high touchdown percentage, great wide receiver room. Really, in the draft, he's kind of set up perfectly. He can kind of just go best player available first couple rounds and really make his roster nice and rounded out, and should make a deep playoff run, honestly, as long as injuries don't hold you back.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty clear path forward here and a lot of options and wiggle room to kind of like make the path your own, but play these cards right, and this is going to be a powerhouse for a while.
100%.
Yeah, having pick 108 is clutch just because he's probably going to get a wide receiver that can help him out, if not this year, in the future. And I definitely agree. I think that running back room is pretty solid. And if things don't go his way, he's positioned well to kind of reload a little bit because he is old in a couple spaces.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we're going to move it on over to the Northeast Division. Alex, who is your first team for us, man?
Got to unmute myself first. First team is Kanto Bright. This guy took over the franchise 2 years ago. The roster was in awful shape. To be honest, I mean, it's been 2 years and this team is still looking like a rebuild. Unfortunately, not a ton of pieces, to deal away to really drive a strong rebuild or a turnaround. Now, he drew the 101 in the draft lottery, but the pick is no longer theirs. He traded it away. I don't know what the deal was. I didn't look that far back in the league history, but he doesn't have that pick, which crushes this team. I mean, he could really, really use that 101 at this point, even if he's just selling it off. And then we'll just get to the quarterbacks. Jared Goff is his quarterback, the number one there. Could argue with Russell Wilson could be the number one. But Goff is my dynasty QB 24. He was quarterback 14 in fantasy points per game last year. He's got an explosive offense. Good weapons with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, they just drafted in the first round. That's going to help that offense be even more explosive, more efficient. And the sneaky add of Marvin Jones, which is really going to help in the absence of Jamison Williams. They drafted Hendon Hooker in the third round, I know, but how often do we see a third-round quarterback become franchise guys? I mean, it happens, but not often.
Especially 25-year-old third-round quarterbacks.
Exactly. Coming off the ACL and all that shit. I mean, that team seems pretty satisfied moving forward with Jared Goff as the QB1 for the next couple of seasons at least. So I'm not worried about Hendon Hooker sitting there. His other quarterback is Russell Wilson, who's my QB 18 in Dynasty. We all know he was awful last year. I was all in on that Broncos offense.
Yeah.
That didn't work out well. That did not work out well. But I mean, he was terrible, but how much of that was the terrible coaching environment, the team environment? I don't necessarily think that Sean Payton can fix Russell Wilson, mainly because I don't really believe that coaches have that big of an influence on player performance, but he will do a better job of kind of like setting things up around Russ, with scheme, play calling, etc., to give him, the best chance to succeed. So I do think Russell Wilson can have a bounce back season. He's got decent weapons: Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Greg Dulcich, Marvin Mims. He can be that field stretcher from the slot. Tim Patrick, coming back from the ACL injury suffered last year, gives him a little bit more depth to work with. His other quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo. We're obviously not keeping him. He's dealing with a foot injury. I'm not really convinced that things are going to go that well for him in Vegas. And that's really all I have to say about Garoppolo. Moving to running back, Javonte Williams. He's my RB16 in Dynasty. Obviously, we know he's coming off that severe ACL injury. He tore multiple ligaments in that knee, I believe. Kind of a J.K. Dobbins type of injury. And we saw how long it took Dobbins to come back from that. I would not be surprised if he's not ready to start the season or even at 100% at all in 2023. I mean, he was pretty awesome before the injury, though. It looked like he was kind of like a budding star, but he's still 23, just turned 23 in April. Hopefully he can return to form in 2024. That's really my optimism on Javonte. I'm not that excited about him in 2023. And like in redraft leagues, I'm not drafting Javonte.
You're driving a stake right through Dennis's heart right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm literally wearing a Javonte jersey.
I love Javonte. Let's wait till 2024. We'll wait till 2024.
Don't listen. He's great, Kanto.
I traded Javonte in one of my dynasty leagues last year. Before the injury, I got T. Higgins, kind of a rebuild team. So I'm liking the way that one turned out.
Yeah, that was
I feel good about that,
dude. Oh my gosh.
And he's got David Montgomery, RB30 in Dynasty. I've never been a David Montgomery guy. He's kind of always been overvalued in my opinion, but this year, I'm in this year. He's a great value in redraft and in Dynasty. Everyone is hyped up about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I expect David Montgomery, or they expect David Montgomery to basically be like his backup. I don't think that's how this is going to play out. I expect Montgomery to expect him to handle a pretty heavy workload and also catch some passes, more than most are expecting. It's a good Lions offense. I mean, Jamal Williams scored 17 touchdowns in that offense last year. I think we'd all agree that Montgomery is better than Jamal Williams, like across the board. He's obviously not going to score 17 touchdowns, but he can be a 1,000-yard rusher, 10 touchdowns, 30 catches. I'll take that.
He doesn't touch him in swag level, though.
That
is true. That's
spicy. 1,000 yards for Montgomery.
I think he can get there. I think he can get there. So I do like Montgomery, but not necessarily for this team in particular. Montgomery is 26 years old. He's past the age apex for running backs. This is a rebuild team. A few weeks into the season when Montgomery is coming off of an 100-yard, 2-touchdown performance, maybe you trade his ass for a second and call it a day and move on. Then that gives us Antonio Gibson. He's an RB32 in Dynasty for me. There's been some chatter that Gibson could finally get some more touches in that Washington offense. I know, but I believe it this year.
I hope you're right.
I'm pretty hyped.
There was a comment today. Wasn't there a comment today? I just glanced at it, but he said something today.
He's a matchup nightmare or something like that.
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Rivera, he's made these comments about wanting to get him more involved, and some of them were unprompted, which makes me believe them a little bit more. Maybe Eric Bieniemy has talked some sense into him. I don't know. But I do believe that Gibson is 10 times more talented than Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm in the minority, but Robinson's like your typical between the tackles, non-explosive, like grinder running back. Gibson's a big dude with incredible athleticism and explosion. He was a receiver in college, so we know he's good in the passing game. He was top 12 in target share, yards per reception, yards per route in 2022. And he was a top 20 running back in each of his first 2 seasons. He ran for 1,000 yards in 2021. I think that is forgotten by a lot of people. The other running backs on this roster, we can forget about them. It's Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette. They're both free agents. I think Gordon's done. Fournette should get an opportunity to sign somewhere else this year, but
I'm still waiting for him to sign with Baltimore. They always seem to sign one veteran. He's the perfect guy.
The washed up guy. Yeah. Mark Ingram all over again.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, he's my wide receiver 35 in Dynasty. Jeudy was kind of under the radar good last year. He was wide receiver 19 in fantasy points per game, 16th in yards after the catch. He's only 24. Could be a bounce back year for the Broncos offense, like I talked about with Russell Wilson. Mike Williams, dude just can't stay healthy. It's just unfortunate because he's such a playmaker when he's out there. He does make plays. He's still tied to Justin Herbert. High pass volume offense, lots of yards, red zone trips, touchdown opportunities. Wide receiver 20 in fantasy points per game last year. Wide receiver 13 in 2021. He's also got Odell Beckham. He didn't play in 2022. He'll turn 31 during the season. Kind of surprised he's that old, to be honest with you. Kind of feel like his career just went like that.
Mike Williams is kind of old, too.
Yeah, he is. He's 28?
28.
Isn't that crazy? I couldn't believe that when I saw that earlier this offseason.
Right? He must have been kind of old when he was drafted then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's got Juju, wide receiver 58 for me in Dynasty. He kind of sort of resurrected his career a bit in Kansas City. He'll slide into that Jacoby Myers role, I think. But it is a run-first offense. And he's got Curtis Samuel and Chase Claypool. But they're wide receiver 3s on their own team. Both in low-volume passing offenses. Claypool is my wide receiver 67. Samuel, wide receiver 72. At tight end, he's got Foster Moreau and Zach Ertz. I don't really have much to say about these guys. Moreau, he was diagnosed with cancer, but it looks like he's going to be okay to play. He did participate in some offseason work. I've always liked Moreau. I've loved Moreau for his entire career. Kind of been like a truther guy for me, but he's kind of a dart thrower at this point. Ertz coming off the ACL, likely to miss at least the early portion of the season. He's 32. As far as strengths for this team, I don't think it really has any, to be honest with you. This team is weak. This team is weak across the board.
Damn.
Sorry.
Yes, we went there.
We did say we were going to roast you a little bit, right? Keepers for me, pretty easy. It's Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, Odell Beckham, Juju. And then we get to kind of a little bit of a decision point here. Jared Goff would be my 9th choice here. And then I would go Chase Claypool over Curtis Samuel. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I would take Claypool over Curtis Samuel. I think he's got just a little bit more name value. Maybe you could get a little bit more for him in a trade.
I would lean Claypool only for red zone.
Yeah.
He's got the higher upside of the two. But you do get those sweet rushing attempts with Curtis Samuel if you want to tack those on.
That's true.
He might get a couple
of free
touchdowns that way.
agent, so
he
might get a better opportunity next year. And
Samuel
if someone signs him.
Samuel was kind of good at the beginning of last year and just fell off.
I love Curtis Samuel. I can't lie.
Well, so does his head coach, but now he says he loves Gibson, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, who knows?
A lot of Broncos on this team. I wonder if someone's a Denver Broncos fan.
Could be a Broncos fan, yeah.
I think they joined us as being all in on the Broncos last year.
As far as trade suggestions for this team, I'm selling off just about anyone I can for whatever I can.
Yeah.
A couple of your veterans should be able to sell like in August or during the season. But this team needs to get younger and bring in some talent pretty badly. My trade targets would be pretty much draft picks. I'd build around some young wide receivers. I'd be looking for wide receivers who have kind of a secure quarterback situation, pass-heavy offense. I mean, that's wishful thinking. You can get somebody like that, but you don't really have the ammunition to go get any of the big guns with what you have on this roster. But at least start collecting what you can at that position. And running back would be the last position you need to address. Just wait until the rest of your roster is ready to compete before you invest significantly into the running back position. Looking at the draft for this team, he's got no first round pick, as we talked about at the beginning. My strategy would be pretty basic. Just go productive struggle, throw darts at these young, high ceiling players and hope you get a hit. It's going to be ugly. It's going to take a couple years to be competitive for this team, I think. That's all I got on that one.
One thing I would take on a team like this is I'm a huge go get your guy proponent. You've got the chance to paint your easel, man. Plant your flag on your guys and go get a couple and build the way you want to build, because you've got the chance.
Yeah. And I would say, really, like you said, sell everyone you can. The only guys I would even hold on to is Judy and Javonte. They're both younger, and you're going to get your returns on Javonte as long as he heals. And you might even start to see that at the end of this year. So don't even sell him right now. If you do want to sell him, wait until he does something by the end of the year.
When the news is coming out, like Javonte's about to be back, everybody's all pumped up. That's the time to stick him on your block.
Yep, stick him there. And you'll get the returns for him, because they're still hyped for Javonte.
Oh yeah.
So think about how much that value will skyrocket.
Dennis will buy him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now. What's the offer?
All right, who's up next?
All right, we're going to jump into the Southeast, which is our dude Ryan.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to start with Log Legends here. He's got this is an impressive roster, I think, especially when when you look at it, especially how I kind of have it broken down here. I'm just going to talk about the guys that I'm keeping in terms of suggestions all the way down. So starting off with Justin Herbert. Last season was a bit of a disappointment for Justin Herbert. If you had Justin Herbert, the struggles that you went through, especially, and it was mainly because of his offensive coordinator didn't know how to use him. And the Keenan Allen injury that happened, I think was it the first 10 weeks, something like that, where he was out. And then you've got Mike Williams that pretty much went out as soon as Keenan Allen went back. So he never had his full complement of weapons. Now you're going to start the season with a healthy Keenan Allen, a healthy Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston in there, who's basically Mike Williams light. He's going to take over from Mike Williams at some point in that role. Gerald Everett at tight end. Austin Eckler's back in the room, and he's not angry anymore because he got his incentives added to his contract, so he'll get his 100 targets. I think a big bounce back for Justin Herbert is possible this year. Of the top four quarterbacks that I kind of separate from the rest of the group with Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow, Herbert's the guy that I think is going to jump into that tier of elite quarterbacks that you can't, you can separate from the rest of the entire pack and not worry about it. They can give you a true, weekly tier break like Travis Kelce gives you that weekly advantage to tight end over everybody else in your league. So you definitely keep him. There's no question about that. McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and Travis Etienne at running back. I don't think I have to speak too much on McCaffrey. We all know how good he is. He's the 101 in basically every single league. It doesn't matter your format. Jonathan Taylor, there's some people that are a little bit worried about JT. I'm not. He'll come back. He'll come back strong. Having a rushing quarterback and not a statue of Matt Ryan is going to make opening up lanes for him so much easier this year. I'm not worried about the injuries. Running backs who get that kind of workload, they just get hurt at some point. I mean, it even happened to Derrick Henry a couple years ago, and he came back the next season perfectly fine. So I'm not worried about that. You've got two top 5 running backs right there. And then ETN, people are worried about Tank Bigsby. I'm not too worried about Tank Bigsby. He'll take some goal line work away, but ETN's the guy who either gains 1 yard or he gains 10 on every single rush. So you're going to get your yardage. He's shot out of a cannon every time he touches the ball. And I think you'll see his target share go up a little bit. He weirdly wasn't targeted the way that you would think he should have been last year. He didn't amass a higher target share than the high target share that I think people really thought he was going to. So you've got that upside to look forward to as well. Wide receiver room is great as well. You've got Keenan Allen to kind of stack with Justin Herbert. God hope he stays healthy for you. Hopkins, we don't know where he's going to go, obviously. So his value is kind of TBD. If he goes to New England, like it's kind of sounding like he might, I don't know how much I would love him. I mean, he's still a wide receiver 2 at the very least, but his ceiling definitely comes down quite a bit in a Bill Belichick offense with Mac Jones. CeeDee Lamb, you don't need to really worry about CeeDee Lamb too much. Just know that his target share may come down with the addition of Brandon Cooks, and then the switch to Brian Schottenheimer as the OC. Still the dumbest move of the offseason, in my opinion, was firing Kellen Moore, who is top 7, 3 out of the last 4 years. And then he has a bad year last year, and they're just like, just get rid of him. We'll
got to run the damn ball, though.
And they fired the wrong guy.
Yeah, big time.
Absolutely.
Big time. That's not Eagles bias either. That's just smart. I promise you. But Lamb will still be a top 12 wide receiver. I've got no worries. Mike Evans. Everybody hates Mike Evans now. And I get that, but I think he's going to be perfectly fine. I mean, he's your wide receiver 4 at this point, basically. So you can throw him in your flex and hope that he gets that big boom week. I love Kadarius Toney. He's one of my favorite late round picks this year. I did my projections on him, and he's statted for a lot of targets, in my opinion, as the number 1 right now in KC. So I think he can take over that role. So he's got a wide range of outcomes, but as your wide receiver 5, you're fine. And then Waller's got a case to jump back into the top 5 at tight end. He's probably going to lead the Giants in targets. So this is another team, now we've gotten through 4 of these guys, and I think this one is a strong contender to make a deep playoff run as long as, it can stay healthy. I don't think you're really losing many pieces by dropping off Foreman, Damian Harris, Kyron Williams, and Jordan Mason into the free agent pool. So I love it. I wouldn't do too much to it. I don't think I would. I mean, the only thing that I can think of is if you want to try and pair someone with Mike Evans to maybe upgrade your wide receiver 4 spot because you might be worried about Hopkins going somewhere like New England, maybe do that. But I don't think you need to make a ton of moves, and you can kind of just let the draft fall to you and really work on getting some younger players in the earlier rounds to move on into next year.
Yeah, I like this team. I think they're moving in a good direction. This was the back-to-back champion until this past season, to where he didn't even make the playoffs, which is kind of a surprising thing to learn here. Now, a little birdie tells us that Log Legends here is a ruthless competitor, very one-sided in trade negotiations. I respect the grind to build this squad, but don't be that guy, man. You can't be that guy. Look, we've all been that guy when we first started playing. Nobody wants to play with that guy. You got to start giving up some goods, buddy.
Well, especially considering how old his wide receiver room is getting. They're good. And if you want, I would 100% run it out again this year and see what happens. But
he's got one more run with those guys.
Yeah, Ryan was saying, if you're looking to kind of get younger, that's the freaking spot. And if you want to be totally one-sided, it's going to be really hard to pluck these young assets from people.
Yeah, because you can move into next year with Lamb and Toney, no problem. But I can't promise you're going to get good returns for Evans, Hopkins, and Allen going into 2024.
Definitely not Evans.
And those running backs are going to get old fast, too. You know how quickly those running backs go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, we're going to kick it over to the Southwest. My man, Dennis, start us off.
All righty. So I'm going to start with Grow It Out. Seems like it's a blue blood franchise. So one of the pillars of the league. So in my opinion, I think it's the best team in this division. I don't think it's particularly close. No offense to Blar and Vito. But I think you can make another run with this squad, especially if you can somehow find a way to get an RB2. I ranked the top 10 assets on this team in the following order. Tyreek is number 1. He is a case to be wide receiver 1 this year. He could have broken, if Tua could have stayed healthy, the NFL yardage record last year. He was on pace. He's insane. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 2 years ago. Like, he's just incredible, right? So to start off with those two kind of wide receivers is insane. You got Derrick Henry. That's my third guy. When will the wheels fall off? People have been saying it for 4 years now. Hand up. Me.
Never.
Been
It's
wrong.
never going to happen.
I've
He's
been
going to
wrong
run
for
into
years.
45.
Right. So I've just stopped taking the take. I don't know what's going to happen. I've jumped on the middle. I'm not taking a take on him. But
dude, they've been doing routine maintenance on that tractor. It's gonna be running a long time.
Tractor Cito. And like, what else do they have in that offense? I mean, they got to give him the ball 25 times. Debo, I love Debo. It's my number 4. He had a bad year last year. Hand up. Even he said himself. He said he's never going to put tape out like that again. I think he has a bounce back year for sure. Terry McLaurin. That's a good wide receiver room, man. Who knows how Howell's going to be, but he's definitely not going to be like double teamed and all the attention, just because if you do, you're going to get burned everywhere else. We've talked about the running back room for Washington. Dotson, Curtis Samuel, good players. So I'm low-key kind of excited about the Washington offense for the first time I've ever said those words in that order.
I found myself that way too. I don't know why.
It's exciting. I don't know why. It could be horrible, but I'm excited.
There's so many value players for drafts, like
Right?
Dotson and Gibson, and shoot, I love Logan Thomas for absolutely no reason. So I'll probably have him in some leagues. I've got him in so many best balls in my last round. So.
He's tall. That's
right.
You can't teach height.
Dennis loves that because he's so short.
You don't have to put me out like that. They didn't know
I'm
that.
sorry.
I'm 5'3". I can't argue.
He might. Yeah, he has a foot plus on me. Moving on. I have Kyler as my number 6. Rondale is my number 7. Patty F, number 8. 9, Gino, and 10, Wandale. After those first 5 guys, it gets a little bit not as clear cut. So let me get into that. So Kyler, I know he's probably going to start the year not playing week 1. However, when he plays, he is still a top level quarterback. He's someone I want to hitch my horse to. There's only so few quarterbacks that can actually be a top 5 guy each week. And in a 1 QB league, that's such a an edge on the rest of your competitors. And so I'm going to roll the dice, especially when you have a guy like Gino, who I think is going to be, real solid top 12, like 10 to 14 range most weeks. But until Kyler's ready, you got that backup guy ready to go. He's got 3 solid wide receivers. The only team that can really argue with Cincinnati as far as the best wide receiver room is Seattle. So I like Gino with Kyler as kind of like a pairing to get that QB1 number. Rondale Moore. I mean, I know he's little. I know he's never really had a full season, but in certain parts of the season, for stretches, he's been a really quality guy. And with Nuke Hopkins gone, there's a lot of targets to happen.
I'm a big Rondale fan, so
yeah.
I agree with you. Rondale is a guy that I've grabbed everywhere, and when he's on the field, he averages in half PPR, I think it's 9 points per game. So that target share is only going to go up, and he's getting the little dink dunk passes. You just got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not a Rondale guy. Last year showed me I don't think he is anything that special because he got hurt and fucking Greg Dortch was tearing it up. So miss me with
Greg
the
Dortch
Rondale
is
bullshit.
better than you think, and it's not Rondale's fault that Greg Dortch is good.
I like what Ryan said.
I got to defend him.
But yeah, I mean, the dude, he's a mighty mouse. He's squatting 600 pounds at 5'7". He's a yak monster. He just, like Ryan said, got to stay healthy. Freiermuth sneakily is a really good tight end. His target share is way better than I thought would keep up post Big Ben. I thought when Big Ben was there, he would do well. I actually sold him in one of my leagues after his rookie year because I'm I think he's going to kind of become just a guy. But I think Freiermuth could push into that top 8 range for tight ends. So that's real solid, especially for a competing roster to have a young tight end that you just don't have to worry about. I'm good. Let me load up a wide receiver and running back. And then Wan'Dale Robinson. There's a lot of options here. I personally love Wan'Dale. Based on my Rondale love, you can probably guess I'm a short king kind of guy.
Yeah. We're in agreement here.
Yeah, but he's a target monster. He's just got to stay healthy. Again, that's what kind of happens with the short kings. They get banged up because there's a lot of big dudes out there. But that would be what I would do, just because of you are kind of an older aged roster. And so to have a young guy who could develop on your team and then somewhat have some viability this year is helpful. But if you want to swap in, Alec Pierce, or if you want to swap in Penny, Zonovan Knight, even the Gus Bus, just kind of load up for this last run, I get that 100%. Me personally, I would try to somewhat hedge a little bit and keep some of those young wide receivers because they keep their value longer, but I would get it.
Mm-hmm.
Strength of the team, wide receiver. I mean, you got 4 dudes that are just going to ball out like you straight up do. 2-3 years, you're great there. I think each of them will lead their team in, as far as fantasy production. And I think that I know some of them are pushing kind of up there like Cooper Kupp and stuff, but I think they'll be fine age-wise, that they'll still be good. And then, so if I were you, like I said, 110, you do have your first-round pick. So that's interesting. For a team like you, pick 110, it's not going to help you this year, most likely. So I'd be looking to kind of flip that during the draft if that's possible. I don't know how your leagues works. Or pick a guy that you think falls and see if you can package them for that RB2 like I talked about. I would not force running back with pick 110. I would take best player available, especially a young guy, and see if you can flip them for somebody else that is either underperforming or maybe coming off an injury, young, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid assessment of that team. My one concern would be going for it here, and the pieces that we've got here have the possibility to just fall apart. I mean,
wide range.
Hill and Kupp both have shown that they could, sustain. Like, I mean, Tyreek's had some little nicks in the past that he's missed games. Kupp has actually missed a whole bunch of time last year. Who knows with McLaurin? I mean, he's kind of shown to be QB proof too, but I don't know. I think this team, they've got a really good shot to make a run, but I see the inverse potentially happening too.
Absolutely. And if they wanted to blow it up, now is a perfect time because you're going to get a lot for these pieces. So I kind of went like, for example, like they could tear down at certain positions, like maybe take Tyreek and trade him for Burks, a first, and maybe something else like an upside dart throw kind of guy. So if they want to go that route, like maybe they start 3 and 4, it's not really their season. I get it. But it's hard to have a team that's primed and like a true competitor for the championship. So I get it. They're like, yo, I want to go one more time because it sucks donating your, buy-in to the champion every year.
Yeah, and he's in the division to make the run happen too, Like he can very well make a run in this division if he wanted to, so it's tough. I think it's one of those things where you wait a couple games and see how your season's going to start going, and then if you start to feel like it's not going to happen, start selling because you got pieces that people are going to want and really want, like you said, Tyreek, Kupp, all those types of guys. Like I'm a sucker. If I got a good team, I'll trade everything I can get to get those pieces up in a keeper league to make that really deep playoff run. So you'll find guys like that no matter what.
All right, cool. I'm going to swing it back to my division, the Northwest. I'm going to go into our guy, Mookie. Unfortunately, Mookie, you probably aren't even going to hear this because I hear you have poor league participation. Shame on you.
Shame.
Stumbles into a good team every few years. Damn, that must be nice. Someone's got to text you to make sure the keepers are in or to change your lineup. Man, Mookie. We got some talking to do, and it ain't about your roster, buddy. But we're going to talk about the roster instead. We got Joe Burrow at quarterback. Ryan already alluded to that's a dude, a set it and forget it guy. No worries there. Ain't no thing for Joe Burrow. Running backs: Saquon Barkley, Latavius Murray, Najee Harris, Jeff Wilson, Alexander Madison. I'm throwing out Murray and Wilson. Latavius Murray was kind of a nice little thing down the stretch last year. He might be a thorn in the Buffalo offense at best, so wouldn't even bother there. Same thing with Jeff Wilson, is just kind of buried in Miami. He's still there, right? I didn't just totally mess that up. Okay, cool. I said Miami, and for some reason in my head, I was like, "You just blew that, you idiot." Anyways,
you damn fool.
I'm dropping him. We're keeping Madison, obviously. I don't think he's going to be a workhorse like Dalvin was, but you're still keeping him. Like you're dumb to
RB3.
Right. Yeah, to take him as your third running back on this squad, hell yeah, I'm all in for that. Wide receivers, this is where it gets a little tricky for you. You've got Ayuk, Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Romeo Doubs, and Sky Moore. Depending on your direction, man, you've got some choices to make. Now I'm going to skip ahead. You got Travis Kelce, so we're in there. Enough said. So with the 3 running backs, Kelce and Burrow are at 5. And this, keeping 5 of this group, for me personally, if you are going to compete this year, which I definitely think you can, I'm keeping Ayuk, Thielen, Johnson, Cooks, and Moore. Elijah Moore. However, if you decide, hey, maybe I want to get a little weird, maybe trade some pieces, do a little building. If you don't think you're quite there, maybe you keep Sky Moore, or maybe you take a shot at Romeo Doubs. Who's to say? But if I'm doing it, I'm not keeping Dobbs. I'm not keeping Sky Moore. I'm just buying the dudes who have already showed me something. And yeah, Adam Thielen is old. He's still going to get targets. It's going to be a come from behind garbage time offense. So I'm not concerned at all about Thielen. Elijah Moore is kind of in the same boat where I'm not super sure what to expect, but I like him more than those other 2 that I'm dropping for sure. Cleveland is going to be a good offense, and I expect Watson to bounce back some. I don't want him to. Fuck that guy, but he'll be better. And Brandon Cooks, I'm all in on. This dude has just been good, just really good his whole career. Yeah. He gets traded around, and he's just good everywhere. So, like, now he is... Well, shoot, he's been on some damn good offenses now that I just thought about that.
He's at 1,000 yards
with the Drew Brees Saints, those Rams. Yeah, he's been on some teams. Yeah, shit, I forgot he was with the Patriots.
He's been primarily the 1, too. Now he doesn't have to be. Now CeeDee Lamb can take all the big coverage, and now it's Brandon Cooks going up against your cornerback number 2.
And they complement each other really well.
Mm-hmm. They do have very complementary skill sets, that's for sure. I expect a huge year out of Brandon Cooks. Like I said, he's just a good football player. And I think a lot of times in fantasy, we overlook dudes like that because you watch them and like nothing like super flashy jumps at you. But like the dude is just damn good at football, so don't overthink it.
It's the shiny new toy thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. But you know what? You're probably not even going to listen to me say that, Mookie. So whatever.
Yeah.
One thing, I would keep Sky over Thielen just as a hedge, just because like a lot of guys don't do well year 1. I would keep
fair.
Just because it's
in the offense.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the upside that Sky Moore potentially has. Yes, I can see it, and I wouldn't fault anyone for making that move. I personally wouldn't. Moving forward, you've got your pick at 106, which I mean you should be able to get a solid player here. I would probably, if I had to give you a lean, I'd lean running back at 6. You should be able to get something okay still. And like you're keeping 5 receivers. So, but really you've got some directions here too. My division is all like solid to good teams. So like none of mine were like straight up like, yo, you got to blow this shit up. So once again, depending on how things go, you've got some choices to make and some directions to go, but I think you got a solid core. Hopefully league participation improves because everybody has more fun that way. So get your shit together, Mookie. Put it in a backpack for all I care. Just get it together. All right. Northeast, Alex.
All right. We got Maud Dave. I know I fucked that name up, but that's who we're going with. Elite roster, feared by the entire league. Commissioner does say he's a little hesitant to make blockbuster deals, but I don't know how we got all these guys.
Yeah, well, how did that happen?
Like, goddamn.
He's highly competitive. Somehow this team did not even make it to the championship last year. They were the third place team, so he went into this offseason pretty heartbroken. But let's get to his quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. He's still the QB1 in Dynasty. I know some people want to put Hurts there. I'm okay with that, but Mahomes for me still. Don't really need to say much about him. He's a building block piece even in non-superflex leagues. At running back, he's got Joe Mixon. He's a good value right now in redraft leagues and in Dynasty. Normally, I would say he was a sell in Dynasty, maybe like a few weeks into the season, but not in this case, not with this roster. I'm riding it out with Joe Mixon because whatever you're going to get for him in a deal is not going to be as valuable to this particular team as just keeping him. He's a depreciating asset. He's getting old. He's had some injuries. He's had some little off the field issues. So the trade value really isn't there, at least to match his production that he can give you. He can still produce. So keep him, maximize your championship window. That brings us to Khalil Herbert. He's my RB35 in Dynasty. We know David Montgomery's gone. Herbert has played pretty well when given the opportunity. On 129 carries last year, he was top 5 in true yards per carry. He was 7th in yards per touch, 7th in evaded tackles per touch. He was also had a fairly high breakaway run rate. All that's per player profiler, by the way. And remember, he was the RB1 overall in week 3 against Houston. I had 169 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, he is going to have to compete with Roschon Johnson and Deontay Foreman. I think this backfield could kind of become an ugly committee for fantasy, at least early in the year before somebody emerges as maybe the guy. I'm not convinced that even happens. Samaje Perine, I like him as a value this year. Could be the RB1 in Denver for a big chunk of the season. We talked about Javonte Williams, kind of like maybe 2024 for him. So this could be sneaky sleeper for Samaje Perine as Javonte works his way back from injury. He's also got Kareem Hunt, who's a free agent, Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier, who I'll talk about in a few minutes when we get to the keepers. But this is where we get excited about this team when we get to the wide receiver position. This guy has both Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, the undisputed wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 in Dynasty, whichever order you have them.
I was just going to say, the past week on Twitter has been like hot debate between these two dudes, and Dave is over here just like,
I got him.
What about it? What about it, y'all?
Trade for what?
And Chase is still only 23. Jefferson's 24. So this is who you're building your team around for the next 5 years, at least.
Ridiculous. Keep going.
Yeah. It's just getting started.
I mean, these guys plus Mahomes is just going to keep this team in contention for years and years, pretty much no matter what happens with the rest of the roster. But on top of having the top 2 players in all of Dynasty, he also has 2 other top 6 or 7 Dynasty wide receivers with A.J. Brown and Jalen Waddle.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Jalen Brown, I want to know how he got them. I got to know the back.
Apparently, he doesn't hear blockbuster deals.
Podcast. Yeah, I want a podcast on just how he got those 4 wide receivers.
Exactly. Let's make it happen.
ESPN 30 for 30.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, AJ Brown, he's my wide receiver 4 in Dynasty. He's 26 years old, coming off a wide receiver 8 finish with his first season with Jalen Hurts. Waddle's only 24, one of the most explosive players in the NFL. He was wide receiver 15 in his rookie season, wide receiver 12 last year. Love both of those guys moving forward as well. I love to build my dynasty teams around wide receivers. I'm envious on what this dude has been able to accomplish at this position. Elite talent, and they're young. This league has every right to be terrified of this team.
Yeah,
I think who's ever running this team, he's damn good at this whole dynasty thing. And then you get to tight end. It doesn't stop here. Tight end, Mark Andrews. I
Crazy.
mean, Andrews is my tight end 1 in Dynasty. He's almost as productive as Kelsey. He's super consistent as an elite producer year over year. And he's 6 years younger than Travis Kelsey. So I know most people have Travis Kelsey at the number 1 still. Totally cool with that. For me, it's like 1A, 1B. Andrews would be my 1. Strengths. Do we really have to talk about the strengths? This team is loaded.
Everything.
Loaded. Quarterback,
Strengths,
the QB1.
roster.
Wide receiver, tight end. I mean, maybe you could say weakness is running back, at least comparatively. Maybe that's why you didn't win the championship last season. But this team's in really good shape. Keepers, pretty easy. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, Khalil Herbert. Obviously, you're keeping these wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Mark Andrews. We get to a little bit of a decision point here between Brian Robinson and Tyler Algier. I am going to take Robinson over Algier. It's a little bit of a tough decision with this one for me. I honestly like Algier better. I think he's a better player, but I got to take the guy who's not stuck behind Bijan Robinson. Brian Robinson has some trade value because a lot of people like him and many view him as the bell cow in Washington. I completely disagree with that, but I really could make the case for either guy. Trade advice, my trade targets for this team, I'm looking at running back. Looking at maybe you go and try to trade for an Austin Eckler. This team is a win now team, and because of his age and contract issues this offseason, Eckler's dynasty value is not quite aligned with his short-term production expectations. In 2023, he's going to outperform the cost of whatever you have to give up to get him. For example, I think it would cost a heck of a lot more to go get like a Bijan or a Breece Hall in a trade. Yeah, I think we would all agree that Eckler's 2023 projections are much more favorable than those guys, or at least equal. And you're going to have to give up a lot less to go get Eckler because of his age. Kind of similar reasons. I'm looking at Nick Chubb for this team. Workhorse and what should be one of the better offenses in the league. Kareem Hunt's gone, which could open up a few targets for Nick Chubb. And Chubb's he's one of the best pure runners in the NFL. I really believe he could have the best season of his career in 2023. And he's got even more value in this league because it's half PPR as opposed to full PPR. I'm also looking at other running backs, maybe Saquon, Najee Harris, Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, Montgomery. Go get James Conner, possibly. We talked about him a lot earlier in the show. For draft, he has the 109. My strategy is just best player available. Just go for the best player available with this team. You don't really have super glaring needs. I wouldn't be drafting for need, to be honest with you. Just keep building a strong roster like you're doing. As you get later into the draft, maybe take some swings at running back. Maybe some of those top handcuffs in fantasy that could be like an injury away from being a potential starter that could help you, win a week or make a run late in the year or whatever. But this is your league champion. This is the team that's going to win this championship. This team will be in position to compete for titles for the next 3 to 5 years. Not only is it stacked with talent, but it's a young team. This is not your typical elite but old roster. This guy is going to crush this league for a long time.
Why are we giving him advice?
As long as he doesn't fuck it up, he's going to crush this league.
I was literally over here thinking, man, if this guy fucks this up, he needs to just quit.
Yeah, my advice would be don't trade any of those 4 wide receivers.
No.
Resist that urge.
100% agree. 100% agree. Build your team around those guys.
Right. You're good there. Worry about everything else.
Make your profile picture Thanos and just run a train out of your league. And just go.
And that's it. And just snap.
All right. Who's next?
All right, we're going to go back to the Southeast for Ryan.
We're going to go to Ricky's team here, which is a very interesting one. This is the only team that I think we're suggesting to not keep a quarterback because I think that I know, right? Crazy. I think that there's quarterbacks that are still in the pool that you're going to be able to grab that, you'll be able to keep some of these other players on your roster over. So we'll just go straight into the running back position. Kenneth Walker, I know there's so much bad press about Kenneth Walker. Everybody's upset with the Charbonnet pick with Seattle, but if you've watched Seattle and Pete Carroll for long enough, you knew that was going to happen. It's almost inevitable that he takes a second-round running back. It doesn't matter. So I don't think you need to worry too much. I still think he's going to clear 200 carries. He's still going to be used. I mean, I don't care if Charbonnet's bigger with how effective Kenneth Walker was in the red zone. If he loses that job just because Charbonnet is a couple inches taller than him, that's just dumb. I don't think Pete Carroll is stupid, so I don't think that's what's going to happen there. I think that you're still going to have the potential to have a back-end RB1 with Ken Walker, so he's an easy keep in my opinion. DeAndre Swift, I can speak on this as an Eagles fan. I'm super excited for DeAndre Swift. We haven't had a good pass-catching running back in Philadelphia since Brian Westbrook, I think.
Oh, you mean Kenneth Gainwell isn't good?
I'm not a high on Gainwell guy, but Gainwell's not Swift. I'll put it to you that way.
Alex took that one personally.
That's okay. That's fine. Swift, I mean, he's cleared 50 targets every year, and he's missed so much time. So I'm not worried about what his role is going to be. Miles Sanders was such a bad receiving option for Jalen Hurts last season that the only time you ever saw him throw and check down to the running back was when Boston Scott really got in there and Kenneth Gainwell got in there. So I expect that total target share to the running back position to go up. He's going to have to deal with Rashad Penny, especially around the goal line. I think that's kind of Penny's job, but we've seen that Swift can be at the very least a flex option, even with Jamal Williams, who scored 17 touchdowns last year. So I think that you have a chance to get a top 24 running back as long as he can stay healthy with how good Philadelphia is at, punching it in when they get down close. You keep Dameon Pierce, in my opinion. I mean, I know it seems like people kind of cooled off of him after he got hurt, and now we're kind of looking at the Texans offense in a different light. The guy's still going to get fed the ball. I know Devin Singletary's there now, but do you guys really think that Devin Singletary is better than Dameon Pierce at this point in his career?
Not even close.
I've never been a Devin Singletary guy. I live in upstate New York. My whole family is Bills fans, and they think that he's, he walks on water, and I don't understand.
He's small. He's slow. I don't get it.
He's so boring. He's supposed to be a really good receiver, and he's got like some of the worst metrics at receiver that you could ever look up. It's horrible, man. I've tried everything to fight away the Devin Singletary stuff. So keep Dameon Pierce. I think you got a good, solid trio of running backs there that you can go into the first round with. And then wide receiver, it's kind of a shotgun blast. You've got Diggs, which you're going to keep for sure. Top 5 wide receiver. And then once you get past Diggs, you've really got some question marks, but guys with massive upside like Christian Watson and Jahan Dotson. I love Christian Watson this year. I think he's got a chance to, finish up there with those year 2 wide receivers, the level of Chris Olave and stuff like that, even without Rodgers. I think he's got the chance to go up that high. We saw how good he is at getting into the end zone. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished with double-digit touchdowns. I think he's got a wide range of outcomes, but his ceiling is as high as some of those other guys that are moving into year 2. And you always want to bet on year 2 wide receivers. They seem to pay off quite a bit for fantasy. Dotson, same thing, big touchdown guy, 12 games. I think he had 7 touchdowns last year. And that offense is going to have to throw the ball to keep up because I don't think their defense really improved this year. So expect him to get quite a few targets as well. Christian Kirk, I know we're all excited about Calvin Ridley, but I still feel like Christian Kirk is probably going to lead that team in targets. He's still going to be a consistent PPR option. Maybe not getting to the end zone nearly as often as Calvin Ridley does, but you're still going to have a good wide receiver too at the very least. And he finished as a top 12 wide receiver last year. So you're taking a guy who finished as a wide receiver 1 last year, probably only bumping him down a couple of spots. He'll finish as that mid wide receiver 2. And that's 4 amazing wide receivers to keep right there. And then you still have Michael Thomas and Tyler Lockett, a little up there in age, but to be able to, kind of swap between these guys and play matchups, I think you're so set at wide receiver that, you can even pair some of these guys together to upgrade at running back if you want to, if you don't feel good about your running back room. And then the last one, Kyle Pitts. I'm not a big Kyle Pitts guy over the past couple of years. I know it's probably going to shock everybody. Don't dig through my Twitter. I have shamed that man so much over the past couple of years, but it's not him. It's the offense that he's in. I usually don't want to touch him until I see it. But at this price, I mean, you're basically keeping him for a 10th round pick. You got to keep him. The upside's way too good. And I would just advise you to pick up another tight end just in case you don't want I think he finishes like the tight end 20 something last year. So just have a backup plan just in case, So roster wise though, I think you're pretty solid. Quarterback, I wouldn't keep either Derek Carr or Trey Lance. I think you'll be able to draft one either at the same level or better with, past the first round. I don't think you got to worry about that too much. Just keep all these, core skill player pieces. And I think you'll be able to make a decent run if you can find a way to pair maybe a couple of these wide receivers and upgrade that running back room a little bit. And if Kyle Pitts pops off and is a top 5 tight end, you might be sitting prettier than it looks compared to the rest of the teams on paper.
I like what you said about Christian Kirk a lot. Obviously Ridley is the splash addition and the big name, but the chemistry that Kirk and Lawrence built last year was, undeniable. And Doug plans and eats the middle of the field up. So yeah, I think Kirk is set to do pretty damn close to what he did last year, if not even better, because he's not the number 1 target anymore.
I'm drafting him over Ridley.
Yeah, see, and I don't even think that's insane. Is because
I don't either.
People don't take into account that Christian Kirk was this team's number 1 option last year. So I personally would draft Ridley over him just for upside's sake. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't fault anyone for going Kirk over him. I think he's just going to be damn solid again.
Yeah, I'm going to move Pat. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, the moving of Calvin Ridley to the outside, taking away coverage from Kirk is just huge. I don't think people really understand that. Like, they see these big moves of big name wide receivers go to a team, and then immediately the guy that was the big name there just drops in fantasy by 5, 6, 7 rounds. And obviously that didn't happen to Kirk yet this year, obviously, but there's a good difference between those guys in ADP. And Kirk's probably going to lose maybe 15 total targets, 20 total targets, but his catch percentage could go up by 10%. And that makes a huge difference because he's going up against the number 2 corners instead of the top guy on the opposing side of the field. So I like when big additions are made to teams that already have a solid wide receiver, because then I think that can raise their floor up a bit.
I think Calvin is a perfect fit for the offense because it gives Doug a legit outside scare for him to eat the middle of the field even more.
Mm-hmm.
Little high tide raises all the boats kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I'm going to move past the Pitt slander. The first guy in 60 years to get 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end. Just going to move.
We can make a whole show on this going back and forth. I promise.
Just going to go past that. Are you suggesting not to keep Pittman and Lockett?
I am. I'm not in on Pittman this year. No, thank you. I think I have Lockett in here as a keeper. I apologize.
Okay.
But Pittman is my odd man out. I would keep Michael Thomas over Pittman. I would keep all these wide receivers over Pittman.
No.
Yeah, I think
no.
I think I'm keeping Pittman over Pierce or Swift.
Can you guys tell me what Anthony Richardson's completion percentage was in college?
Like 53.
Not great, Bob.
52, 53%.
We're keeping Michael Thomas over him?
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Dude, you guys want Derek Carr throwing to Michael Thomas, who's on a number 2 cornerback, or do you want Anthony Richardson chucking the ball downfield 25 yards to a not open Michael Pittman?
I just want the guy who's on the field.
That was
I was going to say, DeMar Hamlin
hasn't played in forever.
DeMar Hamlin died and came back before Michael Thomas.
That was the best tweet I've ever seen in my life. I mean, listen. In 3 games last year, we saw how good Michael Thomas can be for fantasy.
How old is he? 30?
What's that?
Is he 30, 31, maybe?
I got to look that up. I don't want to say that. I don't want to slander the man's age. I'm 29 when I hit 30. I don't want anyone to think I'm 30. So,
and Pittman's
20. Pittman's 25.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Pittman's a keep. I mean,
yeah, I'm with Dennis on this one.
I put it this way because I think that this team, looking at the rest of the division, I know he's got Logs, Legends in there, and that's a very good team, but I would not be shocked if he picks up a decent quarterback that can have high upside, I think he can make a run this year. So to
Why not,
me, give
why
me
not keep
Thomas
that
who
Carr
I would
Thomas
have.
stack?
What's that?
Why not just keep the Carr Thomas stack then? You're so high on Michael Thomas.
I'm high on Michael Thomas. Carr, I feel like I can get the same numbers out of another quarterback that's in the pool. Because if you look at the pool of guys that's left at quarterback, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins is going to throw potentially 700 passes this year, and I could get him in round 3 probably. Like, I'll take that over keeping someone like Derek Carr over, some of the guys that I still have on this list. You can. Hey, listen, this is just suggestions. You can go with Michael Pittman. I want nothing to do with Anthony Richardson only having Michael Pittman to really target. I love Pierce. Pierce isn't going to take away the coverage that Pittman is going to need to get open. And then Anthony Richardson's duck balls that he's going to throw in year 1. I'm not in on it, man. I'm not in on it.
Give me Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Colts hater. But I'd
I don't think I
go
can take
Pittman.
I don't think I can take you as backup into this fight.
Yeah, it's okay. But hey, I got, before we move on, I got one question about the Pittman Thomas debate. How's Derek Carr's slant game? Does he throw a mean slant?
I mean, he did to Darren Waller all those years, right?
Michael Thomas to the moon then. Slant God is coming in. All right, so we're going to go over to Dennis.
Yeah. All right, so my next guy I'm going to talk about is Blair. I like this team. Powerhouse 5 years ago, falling on some tough times. I really think you have some solid pieces, man. And a lot of them are young, so I think you're in a good spot. I think with some luck as far as like breakouts, your foundation could really turn into form. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's an incredible wide receiver. He's done nothing but produce. Outside shot, dark horse shot at being the wide receiver 1. You got Ramondre. They just cut James Robinson. There's not a lot of competition there. At running back, I think he could absolutely be a star running back. You got Hurts at quarterback. I mean, you're talking 3 guys that could be top 5 at their position that are all young. That's a great start right there. I mean, you also have Drake London. I'm not the biggest Drake London guy, but at the end of the day, he's still a good player. And it comes second-year wide receiver. We've talked about that. That's a breakout time. Hollywood Brown, I adore this guy. I really, especially if Kyler can come back semi-early, he absolutely ate when Kyler was there. More on that later. James Cook, he's got an opportunity, man. So if he's the guy the Bills thought he was when they took him, he could absolutely break out. Cam Akers, he ended the year strong. I'll give him that. That's my number 7 guy. Gabe Davis.
Back with Akers.
Alex loves him. Gabe Davis, I'm not a fan. I'm just straight up not. More on that later, but I think you got to keep him. Kmet, same. Not a big guy, but based on your team, you got to keep him. And then little controversial, I went Rodgers with my 10th pick. And so here's a little breakdown as far as that. So the strength of your team is the youth upside of the first 4 guys I ranked. I think all 4 of those guys are absolute, dynamo pieces for a foundation of a team. Hollywood, he was wide receiver 7 points per game when Nuke was suspended those first 6 games last year. He absolutely has shown he's done it. He did it with Lamar. When he is like the number 1 option, like there's a lot of ways to feed him the ball. And then between Cooks or Akers, I mean, odds are at least one of them will be decent this year. And so that's your RB2. And then some of the controversial picks, I ranked Hurts as your number 3 asset. I get 1 QB league. QB doesn't have the same value as like a super flex. However, I mentioned it with Kyler. I think having a top 5 quarterback is such a cheat code in 1 QB leagues. And so I would rather keep him. But then over to London, part of the reason I'm not the biggest fan is against what Ryan would say. I think Pitt's coming back is a big deal. And so you add Pitts, you add Bijan. Like, I think he's the 3rd option on that offense, and I don't think that's ridiculous to say.
You don't think that Pitt's coming back is going to help out Drake London in terms of like getting open and stuff?
Oh, I think all three will help each other. But I still think he's the third best player on that offense. I just think Pitts is like the term generational is overused. There's never been a tight end like Pitts. But regardless, you got to keep London. He showed out last year as a rookie. That doesn't often happen, especially in a run-heavy offense. So unquestionably keep him. Kmet, he's just never gotten better throughout his time in the pros. But I do think the Bears are ascending offense, so I would take him. He's got no real competition. Gabe Davis, he's a better best ball guy than a true, start a lineup kind of week, just because you never know. He is going to have those weeks where he drops 22 points. Good luck figuring out when that's going to be, but you got to hold on to him.
Give it a shot every week. Russian roulette.
Right. And then it's tough. He doesn't have a first-round pick in 23. He could really use one. He's got this young team that's blossoming. But I wouldn't sweat it. This is a year where you just got to be building, right? Don't force anything. You're not going to win the chip. I'm sorry. Just rip the Band-Aid now. But maybe Hollywood falls out to start the year. You flip him. You get a player and a pick who's young or hurt or underperforming. That's one way you can kind of realign. I do think Hollywood would be fine for the next 2-3 years, but if you do want to get younger, you do want to maybe tier up. If someone gets hurt, I think that makes sense. And then one guy I didn't keep that I thought could have cracked the top 10 was Alan Lazard. He underperformed last year. I was a huge Lazard guy last year. I thought he was going to absolutely kill it, and he didn't. You do have 4 better wide receivers, in my opinion, but I went with Rodgers just because maybe somebody gets hurt at quarterback. And maybe Rodgers with Garrett Wilson just absolutely eats, and you can flip that maybe with a Hollywood Brown to a contending team and get their first-round pick and maybe a young kind of potential breakout guy. That was my thinking about it. But if you want Lazard over Rodgers, I totally get it in a 1 QB league. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah,
I think if I would do anything different, I'm keeping Higbee over Kmet.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I think they're pretty interchangeable. Kmet's big thing is he'll get targeted. He just can't find the end zone for some reason.
I love the volume Higbee gets in that offense, and I don't believe in Kmet either. Who do you think would win in a race, Cole Kmet or Aaron Donald?
Donald.
Give me Donald.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yep.
Unquestionably.
Like, dude, all I remember last year watching Kmet is like, this dude just runs through mud. Jesus.
He's like he's got one of those parachutes strapped to his back.
He forgot to take it off from training.
I like what you said. I was thinking about it as soon as you said Rodgers as the 10, but looking at the roster, I think he's the most valuable asset to flip, like you said towards the end there. Definitely, and even in a 1 QB, you could flip him to the team that I just said don't keep Derek Carr. And if they start to make a run within the first couple of weeks, they want a quarterback that maybe gives you the upside of Rodgers this year. You could flip him for something there and make that really work. So, you don't flip him to start the season most likely because I don't think you'll maximize volume, but keep him on your bench. And I'm an Eagles fan. God forbid anything ever happened to Hurts, but listen, the guy runs through people like they're brick walls. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went down at some point, and having Rodgers as your insurance policy is a pretty damn good insurance policy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this team's foundation. Like, I know I said that a couple of times, but you just got to be patient. That would be my biggest advice in the world is, like, do not force anything.
Yeah, and I agree completely.
It's really hard in the situation that he's in because I've been here where you're close, so you want to go make that move to try and push, but if you do, it's going to hurt you in the long run.
You may be surprised with how deep you go too. Like you could end up in the semis, and once you get in the playoffs, it doesn't matter anymore. Like anything can happen. The guy who had Pat Mahomes and the 4 best wide receivers in the NFL didn't win the championship last year. So
yeah, Justin Jefferson scored 2 points in the championship week last year. Like shit happens.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do sometimes.
All right. I think that wraps it up there. We're going to flip it around one more time. We got one more round to go. We're on the home stretch. And for me in the Northwest, again, my last team is Sporty. And Sport and Waves, another league blue blood here. Always a contender, highly active. Tough times last year with injuries.
I like
I'm
this
just
game.
trying to keep up right now. And honestly, I think we got a decent shot if you can turn a good draft here. Quarterback, you're obviously taking Lamar. Don't worry about him at all. I've read some things about people have concerns with him. I don't get it. Like, it makes no sense to me.
How
He's
dare he get a
ridiculous.
completely upgraded
Off-season
offense?
football.
Yeah, it's a classic offseason take. Like, even as a passer, he's very good. Like, he takes a ton of flack for his passing, and it makes no sense, except for the obvious reason. But we won't go there. Yeah, you're keeping Lamar. He's a badass. Running backs. This is a little dicey. You've got Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Rashad White, Cordero Patterson, Jalen Warren. The way I shaped this out is I was keeping 4 running backs, and I'm dropping Cordero Patterson, believe it or not. Kamara, I think you can roll him out one more year and feel pretty solid about that before the wheels maybe start to fall off. Dalvin Cook, you're keeping. We don't know where, but he's obviously going to go somewhere where he's going to be useful and used. It's not like he's going to go sign with a team who already has a dude, or if they do, it's not like he's going to go sign with the Titans or something.
What if he goes to Dallas?
Oh, god damn, that would be something, though.
Ew.
That would be sad, but it would be good for Dalvin.
I think with Dalvin, you just got to go into this year knowing that he's not going to be the same fantasy asset, no matter where he goes.
Yeah.
Just decrease him a little bit, maybe make him more of an RB2 than a back end RB1, and just go into it like that. And then wherever he signs, you can fluctuate it from there.
And I think that's where my biggest problem with this roster is the running backs. There's not that guy. I'm not a huge Rashad White believer. Was a very inefficient runner last year, and there's also been a lot of talk of other inefficient runners in the league, but my personal favorite inefficient runner, Ken Walker, smacks home runs left and right. Rashad White does not. Yeah,
Rashad White's going to catch a ton of more passes, though, don't you think?
Yeah, see, I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold on that because I think a ton of the Buccaneers dump offs came from the way Tom Brady ran an offense, and specifically the way Tom Brady ran a 4-minute drill and the 2-minute offense. How many times when they were in hurry up was he just dumping it to Lenny instantly?
You don't think Baker's going to dump it?
No, because they're going
to be in comeback mode all day long.
Yeah, I know, but Baker slings it. Baker's a slinger, and he's going to go for it. I don't think he's got the intuition of Brady to sit there pre-snap and say.
He doesn't have the intuition of Brady, that's for sure.
That's very,
who does?
Of the century I just made.
Yeah.
But like, with Brady, he would sit there and say, I'm going to look here. If it's not there, I'm dumping. I don't have the faith in Baker to do that, to not say, shit, my first guy's not there. I got to do something crazy. I'm not saying Rashad White's not. He's going to have his catches. He's probably going to put up some decent numbers. I'm just not there like everybody else is. I'm still keeping him, though.
Yeah, I think they could draw things up specifically for Rashad White. I mean, he was an excellent receiver coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
He was second on his team in receiving, and he led the team in rushing. I'm just saying, I think he could get some catches.
He could definitely.
I think he will. And I could be way wrong. I'm not valuing him where consensus has him right now, though. But once again, you're still keeping him because he's the lead guy on his team.
Oh, yeah.
And lastly, I'm keeping Jalen Warren. He's kind of on the flip side of Rashad White. Extremely efficient when he touches the ball. He just doesn't get much chances. But I have zero concern if Najee were to go down long term that Jalen Warren is going to put up numbers. He's had a couple random shots to do it, and he's done well. I like the way he plays. He catches. He's just, once again, just a good football player. And if Najee were to miss some time, you're looking at a great fill-in or a great trade piece. So I'm rounding out with those 4 running backs. Now my wide receiver room, this is fun. I'm also keeping 4 here, and I'm going DK, obviously, Devontae Adams, obviously, DJ Moore, and then the last one for me is Treylon Burks. I'm ditching Rashad Bateman. Never been a huge Bateman guy. Twitter seems to love him just because he took a slant to the house one time, and that's the only clip they post of him. The dude has this Liz Frank injury, and now he needs another pain shot, and that's bad news Bears right there. That's the biggest reason I'm out on him. I just wanted to take that little shot because it was fun. But yeah, foot injury is scary, 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 first of all. And the fact that he's this far removed and still needs a pain shot when he should be like in a good spot in his rehab is extremely concerning.
So I read that the pain shot was because he got the screws in his foot taken out, and that is why he had the pain shot. Maybe that was
interesting.
Bad report, but that's what I read. Which
now I don't
would make me a lot more optimistic about it.
I saw that, but I also saw that it was like hey, we need to try this or else we got to go back under the scope. So I think it's...
Well, that would be worst case scenario for sure.
Yeah, I feel like everything Baltimore injury report-wise the past 2-3 years has been absolutely terrible. It's right up there with San Francisco. Like, you can't believe any of it half the time.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible. J.K. Dobbins going to be ready for day 1 of training camp last year?
Oh, God, you're right.
With Rappaport on Twitter, it's great.
And Lamar was supposed to be back
June
like
16th. So June 16th, this is what we know. It could be different 2 months from now.
Yeah.
But stack that on with how I was never a huge Bateman guy to begin with, and also love Zay.
Yes.
I just love Zay's route running. He's going to find himself open. And then with Todd Monken coming in there, I expect them to spread the ball out some more and air it a little more than they have been in the past. Not saying they're going to be like a pass first team, but I expect the pass rate to go up some. But yeah, I love Zay. I think there's just talent off the charts over Bateman there, and we hit on Odell. I'm just not quite there with Odell anymore.
I was going to ask, where do you think Odell slides into the target order there?
I think he's still going to get his targets, but I don't think I'm going to roster him anywhere, to be honest. I just can't do it. Dennis texted me the other day and says, when was the last time Odell scored 6 or more touchdowns?
6 or more touchdowns.
It had to be like his breakout year, right?
2016.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Everyone talks about how like Keenan Allen and some of these other guys like McCaffrey, they're all injury prone. Dude, Odell Beckham Jr. has been hurt since 2016, it feels like.
The second ACL at 28 years old, too. It's rough.
No.
So yeah, I'm pretty much out on him, and I need to see Bateman before I'm investing. So therefore, since I love Zay, I'd be planting my chips into Zay for this offense. Well, Mark Andrews first, obviously, but
yeah,
if I'm taking a Baltimore receiver, I'm going for Zay. So I'm dropping Bateman here. Dropping David Bell. I mean, he's just a dude here at this point. And my last keep is Greg Dulcich.
I love Dulcich.
I love him so much.
Had a really nice year this past year.
Yeah.
He just finds himself getting open. He's getting nice targets. And I don't care what people say about Albert O. Just use your eyes, man. Eye test this shit. Like, sometimes it's not harder than the eye test. You look at Albert O and everyone loves the athletic numbers and whatever, but it's like, just watch the fucking football. Jesus, like, it's so obvious when you watch those two play who's the better football player.
Dude, Adam Trotman just got signed. I think actually they traded for him. Albert O is an afterthought. He'll be the third tight end on this team now.
I forgot about that. You're right. And yeah, Sean Payton has utilized tight ends very well in his career. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm all in on Greg Dulcich this year. I think we could be easily seeing a top 10 tight end finish out of him.
I think just like utilizes mismatches very well.
Right.
Just consistently,
like big mismatch.
Yeah, MT, Kamara, going all the way back to Jimmy Graham. Like, he's just really good at identifying, like, oh, this guy could be hard to cover in this scenario. Let's
Taysom
exploit
Hill.
it. oh my God. Who could forget?
But yeah, Greg Dulcich, I'm all in there, and I'm dropping Dawson Knox. This doesn't even have to do with Kincaid for me. I think if Knox was the dude, we would have known by now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's solid. He's a great dude to have on your real football team. But for fantasy, I'm just not touching it. I think your strengths here, Lamar is going to be a cheat code again for you, and you've got a badass core of 4 receivers here. This running back room could flip either way for you. I see a scenario where those top 3 guys, could, put you in a nice position here, but it's also a little scary. If I were you, I'd be definitely trying to go add a big time running back, whether it's one of your running backs plus some picks to upgrade. Maybe it's a receiver and a pick or something. Running back, I would be looking for that one dude that I feel very confident in, just to kind of stabilize the room. Because Kamara, with Williams coming in, he's getting up there a little older. They drafted Kendra. I know he's probably not going to be like the hugest factor this year, but he's still there and he's still going to get touches. We already hit on Dalvin, the question marks there. Rashad White's got a really great shot, but I've got some questions there too. Yeah, I think if I were running this team, I would be doing what I can to lock up a bona fide running back.
I think a good thing to do is, and this is if you're comfortable with it, because this wide receiver room is really, really good. But why not look at maybe selling Devontae Adams to shore up that RB room? Because he's your oldest asset. He's your most valuable wide receiver asset in terms of this year. Sell him away. Get a good running back. You can even pair him if you want to. Say you want to get rid of Kamara or Cook and really upgrade that position. I think that is totally possible. You could sell – if you can't sell someone on Devontae Adams, who are you going to sell him on?
I agree. I like that move.
Devontae would be a great sell to one of the teams who's looking for a push.
Mm-hmm.
Do you 100%. Think this is a roster that should go for it this year, or should it be patient?
Man, that's really tough. If I had this team, I think I'd be patient with it. I'd probably try and move.
I think
I'd probably try and move. Yeah, I know that's fair, Dennis. I am the all-time. I want to make shit happen now in Dynasty all the time.
Don't forget, they have 102 and 105, so they're getting.
Ooh, I forgot. I only saw the Gibbs. 105.
Yeah.
Oh, so good call on that. I thought it was just the 5th one. So yeah, you can snatch up Jahmyr Gibbs. And from that point, I think I might even look more into pushing this thing down the road, because you could sell Cook and Kamara and Adams, all 3, and you could load up on some young talent picks. Still be really set.
I love this team. It is a dark horse for sure for me.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to how you feel about the running back room. If you feel good about adding Gibbs, and then that room, you think those 5 guys can get you there, I don't blame you. I would just be a little concerned having to rely on Kamara and Cook both.
If you took it from a redraft perspective and you looked at it as through a lens of, I went really heavy at wide receiver early on and then had to spend an early pick on Lamar Jackson, ending up with Gibbs, Kamara, Cook, and White isn't not a bad core. And I think I would feel okay with it in a redraft sense. So
I think a good point.
I would keep Bateman over Warren too.
I agree. Especially when you have Lamar.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Bateman guy either, but I think I would also do that. I love getting handcuffs of these elite teams. Like, he's probably a top 3 handcuff in the league.
Because if Lamar hits as a passer, there's a good chance that Rashad Bateman hits as a receiver as well.
At least as a flex. And I don't even like Bateman that much. I'm with Schultz on Bateman and on his opinion with Bateman, but it's got to work out. Plus, OBJ, all it takes is one bad hit and he's gone. Now he's the number 2 potentially again, because I think Flowers will level up in targets. But
we don't even know if he can still play anyway.
Right. And because that's a very good point, because they have Lamar and because the nature of that offense and with OBJ, I could be talked into it.
And you'll be able to in your draft, it's a rookie and vet draft. Jaylen Warren's going to be pretty attainable in that draft.
Oh yeah,
So you
also
just
a good point.
drop
Around 3,
him,
4, 5.
keep Rashad Bateman, and just draft Jaylen Warren again.
Yeah,
That what, I'm sold.
we did it.
I just got convinced. You're keeping Bateman.
Rashad Bateman jabbing. You just wanted to joke about the slant for 60 yards.
Dude, it's so true though. It's the only clip Twitter has of him.
That was that Miami game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That game was electric.
Yeah, it was. That was awesome. So anyways, to wrap things up, Rashad Bateman, you're in. Jaylen Warren, you're fucking out. Kenny Powers, baby. All right. Last team in the Northeast, Alex.
All right. That brings us to Pat Sajak. Give me.
Is it the real Pat Sajak?
Isn't this
Wheel
the
of
Wheel of
Fortune?
Fortune
Let's
guy?
go.
Oh, all right. Pat Sajak. All right.
He is
About to
retired.
retire too. Yeah.
Really? Well, now he's focusing on fantasy football, apparently.
Smart.
All right. So this is last year's runner-up. He was second place. I'm told that he's a risk taker. He won't shy away from making a big deal.
I can see with the 3 tight ends.
He's loaded at tight end, yeah. He's desperate.
Really is.
Desperate for a championship, from what I'm told. He's done a great job building up a team that was last place 2 years ago, and now he was second place last year. Not too bad. He does not have a first-round pick this year. It would have been the 111, but he traded away to Voda, who has like half the first round, I believe.
Facts.
So at quarterback, he's got Josh Allen. That's an easy keep. He's my QB3 in Dynasty. I think Jalen Hurts leapfrogged him for the QB2 in Dynasty. I am a little concerned about the weapons beyond Stephon Diggs. He's got Gabe Davis. We all know how I feel about him. I do like Khalil Shakir as a sleeper, like a deep sleeper, but I certainly wouldn't consider him a weapon. He's got Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Kincaid is good, but it's not often that we see rookie tight ends come in and make a significant impact in their first season. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but they're few and far between. But we know the Bills want to pass the ball at a high volume. So I don't see any reason why that would change. Josh Allen's still only 27 years old. He's got that big arm. He's not afraid to run it. He had 126 carries in 2022. He was second among quarterbacks in rushing yards. He had 7 rushing touchdowns. I don't see that going away anytime soon. At running back, he's got Nick Chubb. I talked about Nick Chubb as a trade target for Maude Dave. And like I said, at that point, he's going to turn 28 years old during the season. He's a workhorse in what should be one of the better offenses in the league, assuming that Deshaun Watson bounces back. Kareem Hunt's gone, which could open up a few additional targets for Nick Chubb. He really could have the best season of his career in 2023. He's been a top 10 running back in fantasy points per game in each of the last 4 seasons. In 2022, he was number 3 in rushing yards. He was number 1 in evaded tackles. He was first among running backs in runs of 15 yards or more. So I'm all in on Nick Chubb this year. I've really never been a Nick Chubb guy, but this is the year for Nick Chubb. Aaron Jones is his RB2. This is another older running back, 28 years old. RB11 in fantasy points per game in 2022, despite sharing that backfield with A.J. Dillon. Top 10 in both rushing yards and receiving yards among running backs. His touchdowns were down from double digits in 3 straight seasons down to just 7. But he played in all 17 games, and he had his most carries since 2019. And I think he's going to continue to be an explosive runner. He was top 10 in breakaway runs and evaded tackles last year. He's got Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't think we're keeping either one of these guys. If we are,
a lot, but
I do like McKinnon as well.
With his roster, I looked at it, and while you're talking, you can't keep him, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe, like we said with Jaylen Warren, maybe you just drop him now and you go and you draft him in your draft. At wide receiver, he's got a decent young core of wide receivers to build around here. Got Devontae Smith. He's tied to Jalen Hurts, which is great news. He really played well as the number 2 to A.J. Brown last year. The team didn't really add any target competition. Quez Watkins remains the wide receiver 3 in Philadelphia. He was the wide receiver 14 in 2022, averaged 15 fantasy points per game, 136 targets, 27% target share. He's excellent after the catch. So I'm really excited about this team having Devontae Smith, but they also have Garrett Wilson, who's my wide receiver 5 in Dynasty. I know Ryan just wrote up an article on Garrett Wilson at yardsperfantasy.com. Give a little plug there.
Big preach.
I'm not quite as bullish on Wilson from a redraft perspective, but he's easily a top 10 Dynasty wide receiver. He was awesome. I mean, a lot of metrics last year. I stole some of these stats from Ryan's article. But he was wide receiver 30 in points per game, top 24 in wide receiver. No, he had six top 24 wide receiver weeks. He was 20 plus points 3 times, had a 300-yard games. And now he gets Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I think he's going to take a big step forward. Not sure if he can give you that top 10 wide receiver production quite yet. But I'm very excited about having Garrett Wilson on this roster.
He's an underrated yak guy too.
Yes,
He's
he
really
is.
Good after the catch.
Yep, he is. Cortland Sutton is on this roster. He really needs to hope for a Russell Wilson resurgence. He's another one of those guys that burned us. All of us that went in on the Broncos offense last year.
I had him on every team.
Mm-hmm. I was desperately trying to trade for him in one of my leagues, and I'm so happy that the guy never accepted my offers.
Yeah, I was the guy on the other side, desperately trying to trade him.
Mm-hmm.
No one wanted him.
I would have taken him. Glad I didn't. So he had that great stretch, many years ago in 2019 with Drew Lock, but he really hasn't done a whole lot since then. He was the wide receiver 40 in 2022. But there's a little sliver of reason for optimism with Cortland Sutton. He was top 24 in route win rate per the playerprofiler.com metric. He was top 10 in route win rate versus man coverage. So that gives me a slight little hope, but he is about to turn 28 years old. And we're still sitting here waiting for that breakout that seems destined to probably never happen at this point. He's also got George Pickens on this roster. I'm a big fan of George Pickens, just kind of like in a vacuum as a player, but I hate the offense. I hate this offense. I'm not convinced that Kenny Pickett is good.
Darn you, Matt Canada.
I'm not convinced. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how.
Sad trombone sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not convinced that Kenny Pickett's the answer for this team, to be honest with you. George Pickens was way behind both Pat Freiermuth and Deontay Johnson in targets last year.
Yep.
I expect that to probably be about the same in 2023. And I'm not convinced that the pass volume is going to be much higher to make up for it. But I do think we're keeping Pickens just because he's a good player.
High upside too.
Yeah. He's got that alpha type to him.
Definitely.
At
How
tight
about
end,
this tight end room?
this tight end.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the strength of this team for sure.
He's flexing them.
He's good. George Kittle, he's my tight end 5 in Dynasty. He's a big-time playmaker, obviously. He's done this for many years. He's a little inconsistent, a little boom bust. The quarterback situation's a little sketchy. Target competition is a little bit of a problem as well. With Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey all taking targets in that offense. But he can definitely put up those boom weeks for you.
Yeah, he won People Champions last year.
That's right. That's right. Now he's also got TJ Hawkinson, who I have ranked ahead of George Kittle. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I do too.
Yeah. He was a target machine after the trade to the Vikings last year. He was a tight end 8 times. I think that was like 73% of his games after joining the Vikings. He was a tight end 1. Obviously, that's not a high bar to cross, but he's also top 3 tight end in targets, receptions, receiving yards for the season. They added a little bit of target competition with Jordan Addison, but this is a pass-first offense. Just got rid of Dalvin Cook, which I think solidifies their plan for this offense even more.
700 passes incoming for sure. This is the Tom Brady Buccaneers plan of just chuck it. It doesn't matter how far downfield. The big thing with him too is he went from 10 yards per reception with the Lions up to 15 with Minnesota last year. 5-yard increase. I was doing I'll plug the kit, the projections kit. I was doing Minnesota right before this, and I looked at that stat. I was like, holy crap, he went up by 5 yards just by switching teams. It's a lot. So he's a focal point for sure. He's number 2 behind Justin Jefferson for target share, I think.
It's like the Lions maybe they just didn't know what to do with him, didn't know how to use him, and then the Vikings are like, we have the plan for this guy, let's go get him. And I
think that's what impressed me the most was how quickly he integrated into that offense, and I think that's what gives me so much hope moving forward. Is what is an offseason going to do?
Absolutely. I think the target. It's a really consolidated target distribution in that offense. It's Justin Jefferson, it's Jordan Addison, it's TJ Hawkinson, and that's about it. Maybe sprinkling a little bit of KJ Osborne, but it's a pretty consolidated. Yeah, I like Osborne as well, but I think it's these 3 guys, and then there's a big step down to Osborne. He is on the last year of his contract for whatever it's worth, but this is a keeper league. He's also got Dallas Goedert on this team. My tight end 6 in Dynasty. He's tied to Jalen Hurts. We love that with Devontae Smith, so we love it with Dallas Goedert as well. He's good, and I really don't have much else to say about Dallas Goedert. He's a good player, good offense. So the strengths on this team, it's pretty strong across the board. Quarterback is about as good as it gets with Josh Allen. Running back is top heavy and old, but I'm fine with it for a win now team like this one. Wide receiver is young and solid, but might be missing that elite producer for the 2023 season because I don't know if Garrett Wilson is going to be quite that guy. Sorry, Ryan. But that could be what holds this team back from a championship run. But if you do think that Garrett Wilson puts up a top 10 receiver season, then I think you're in really good shape. And then tight end, he has a monopoly at the position. Probably looking to deal at least one of these guys.
I was just going to say, you're keeping all 3 and you're trying to move one, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which one do you move?
At least one. Yeah.
I'd probably say
whoever you can get the biggest price for, I think is what I would do.
Agreed.
Which I agree. I think that could be Kittle.
Yeah. I think most people would want Kittle over the other 2, not knowing how good Hawkinson may have been in the move to Minnesota. And then Goddard was hurt for 4 games, and you see A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith in Philadelphia. Do people normally see Goddard as that next big step up for tight end in terms of a trade next to Kittle, I should say?
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of Hawkinson fatigue where people kept waiting on that breakout, and then it just never happened. It finally happened last year, but people are out already. So that could keep his price down a little bit as well. So my keepers for this team is going to be Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, George Pickens, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Cortland Sutton. I think this was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any tough decisions with this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Trade advice. I'm looking to buy an elite producer at wide receiver, maybe looking at Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs. Go get that Josh Allen stack, maybe Cooper Kupp. It might be a little bit too pricey, but I'm also going to sniff around CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I'd be packaging up one of these tight ends, plus maybe like a George Pickens and then some draft picks to try to get that done.
I was literally just about to say I would shoot for Kittle and Pickens for an elite receiver.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Pickens hype.
Yeah, and I'm fine throwing in some draft picks if it needs to get that done as well. As far as the draft, after you go make that trade for that high-end wide receiver, I would be targeting a nice combination of high upside youth and then some steady producers for depth in the draft. Really looking at best player available. I think with a few strategic moves, this team can get back to the championship in 2023. I don't know if they're going to beat Maud Dave, but I think they can get there, at least contend for it. And as long as they can go get some youth at running back within the next couple of years, this team's going to be contender for the next several seasons.
Great team in the worst possible division with Maud Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly. Like you look at this roster and then you go and look at your competitors and it's like, deflating.
He's got to stare at that every time. He's like, I got such a good
Mhm.
roster. Just put me in a different division, and he's Thanos.
I think
It's
that's
top-
why you got to
it's
go.
top
You got to go
five.
make an aggressive move. Go get one of those stud wide receivers, and I think you could be right there with Maud Dave.
Yeah,
I gotta
relocate
say,
to Las Vegas. That's always an option.
there you
right?
go. That Pat Sajak is my spirit animal. Dennis can attest to this, but I'm going to read the notes about Pat Sajak, and it literally describes me as a fantasy dynasty player. Participation is high. Risk taker, will not shy away from making a deal. Desperately looking for a championship. Does a great job building a team up from last place in 2 years. I mean, that is me dead on. If you have a shit team, I'll get you competing in 2 years, but you might want to find someone else to take you home.
Oh, that's good.
All right, we're going to keep moving here back to the Southeast. And Ryan, that gives you our last team in your division.
Yeah, Feedy, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is the reigning champion, correct? And the commissioner of this league, if I read the notes correctly. I mean, fantastic roster. I'm just going to run through the keepers that I would suggest, and it's pretty straightforward when I look at it. There's one question mark I think I might have towards the end, but at quarterback, I think you keep Deshaun Watson out of the ones that you've got between him and Dak Prescott. That's just me personally. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Dak, I'm so torn with Dak this year because I feel like the pass attempts are going to come down quite a bit for them with the change from Kellen Moore to Schottenheimer as the OC. They want to run the ball more. Maybe that takes away some of the turnover problems that Dak had last year. He's got the upgrade in weapons, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I would rather take the upside bet on Deshaun Watson with his offense than Dak with Dallas's offense. You guys agree with that? You think it's a good pick out of those two?
I disagree. I would take Dak. I don't think they're going to be quite as run heavy as a lot of people think. I know they made the offensive coordinator change, but they went and got Brandon Cooks in that offense. I mean, they got Dak at quarterback. They didn't add anything at running back.
I was going to say the personnel doesn't really add up for them to lean into the run more.
Like, why wouldn't they? If they wanted to run the ball, they would have. Don't you think they would have added maybe somebody in the draft at running back, or they would have gone and got Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt or Dalvin Cook or brought Zeke back?
Zeke is still rumored to potentially go back. If that happens, I don't know how I think about it.
That's true. And I brought up Dalvin Cook for them as well. I heard some rumors about that as well. So,
and he has been rumored there as well. It feels like they're just kind of waiting to sign that veteran. Like, if Leonard Fournette goes there, is anybody going to be really shocked about that? Probably not.
No.
Especially with the gruesome injury that happened to Pollard at the end there. That was just horrible. But
my boy Blue.
I can bring this up now. This is where my 10th selection kind of got me going is, do I have him keep Jacoby Myers to kind of round out his wide receiver room, or do I just take both quarterbacks, go with Dak and Deshaun Watson, and then you can kind of move forward? I think that's probably the move here now that I'm talking with the three guys.
I agree.
I would. Absolutely.
Yeah, just to keep that going. But to go into the running back room, I think you got a fantastic running back room. Austin Eckler. I don't think we got to go crazy with Austin Eckler here. We know how good he is. He's got #1 RB overall potential, and he's no longer disgruntled with his contract because he has the chance to earn incentives, which is great because that means he's going to play to earn those incentives. So that's even better for fantasy. Tony Pollard, we kind of just talked about him. Half PPR RB7 last year, I think, if I'm correct on that. I got to look that up again, but
didn't even stud, no doubt.
Didn't even crack.
Explosive.
Yeah, didn't even crack 200 carries last year. And now 220 carries are vacated with the loss of Ezekiel Elliott. Even if they brought Zeke back, I don't care. Tony Pollard is going to be, that he's pushing for a top 5 finish. He might start the season a little slow depending on the injury and how he's faring with that. But once you get past the first couple weeks, there's no worries with Tony Pollard on my end. Breece Hall, I'm a Breece Hall lover. I think he's got the chance to be a top 5 running back. Yeah, he's fantastic. You pair him up with Aaron Rodgers, he could have 70 targets. He could be the Aaron Jones of this offense. And we saw how good he was last year when he was healthy. I know that Ken Walker is like the talk of he was the best running back rookie, but if Breece Hall was healthy, Ken Walker would be a not close to, in my opinion.
You think he's going to be ready to start the season?
I do. I think at the very least you're going to see him on the field. I don't know. I think it's kind of like a Pollard situation. Are you going to get what you're most likely going to get for the majority of the season in week 1 with Brees Hall? Probably not. But once you get past a couple weeks, you're
Second
going to
half
get
of the year could be huge for him.
big time. And I don't even think it'll take that long.
It was a clean ACL, which all ACLs suck. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like at least it's not multiple ligaments. And then the second thing is the weeks that he played, he was out carried by Michael Carter. So he doesn't even need a full workload to be. And I think he was like RB6 during that stretch. Like the dude is just that guy.
And he's catching balls down the field too.
Yeah,
explosive.
I have not looked up ADOT on him compared to the rest of the league. I have it on one of my spreadsheets, but it's got to be up there inside the top 10 for the running back position because it felt like he was always targeted close to the first down marker every single time.
So, my favorite thing about him is the way they used him. They were so creative with him. There was that one he had a carry that he took to the house, but they had some really weird misdirection stuff going on with it. But then all of a sudden, Brees is breaking out the other side, just gone. That was badass.
Yeah, it was great. It actually reminded me of the way that ETN is used a little bit with Jacksonville, especially with the outside swing runs. Like the minute I see ETN going to the outside, I know he's probably going.
You're in trouble.
Nobody. And it seemed like when they did that with Brees, they finally broke out and did that. They put Conklin and another tight end in there because they have a fairly deep tight end room, and you could swing it all the way out, and it worked great. So, long story short, I love Brees Hall, so there's nothing there that I'm going to shy away from. A.J. Dillon as a 4 is great. If he was your 2, like a lot of people had him last year, you'd be so disappointed. But as your 4, you can't ask for anything better. And if anything happens to Aaron Jones, he's one of the backs that's going to shoot up into that, 17 touch opportunity per game type of stat. Fairly good wide receiver core. You've got Amari Cooper, who I had zero faith in with Brissett last year, and he just smashed me in the face with that. He's going to be perfectly fine with Deshaun Watson, and I think this year, with Watson getting probably more into a rhythm, they drafted Cedric Tillman? Is that the rookie that they drafted to be the outside complement to him? And then DJP is going to kind of stay inside with Njoku. I think it's a fairly competent wide receiver core where he's going to have enough pressure taken off of him in terms of coverage. And then Chris Godwin, I think everybody's down on the Bucs right now, but if there's anybody that could probably succeed with Mayfield, it's got to be Chris Godwin. I mean, it only makes sense. Like, you're going to get in redraft, you're getting him at a massive value right now. I feel like in Dynasty, you're also getting him at a value too. If you don't want to keep a part of this because you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like in 2024, let him have a few really good games to start the season, flip him for a good asset. Because I think he's young enough, he's proven it enough at this point of his career. If he starts to prove the doubters wrong early in the season, you're going to get a good return. We swapped out Jacoby Myers for Dak Prescott, and then David Njoku. I think he's got top 5 tight end potential in that offense this year. It's still wide range of outcomes, but at the very least, you've got a tight end one in Njoku, so you take that all day with what's compared to the rest of your roster.
Yeah, if you don't have one of those top end guys at tight end, you just got to go volume by numbers and hope something hits. And he's definitely one of the top 8 guys. For sure.
Yeah, you keep that. I think this roster is very good. I think it's got a chance to make another deep run. I mean, you already won last year. You found a way to win with Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson as your quarterbacks late in the season, which is crazy to me because they didn't have great late season production. But you've built this roster to a point where I think you've got it and good to run for the next few years. I mean, Eckler's getting older, but Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, and even A.J. Dillon is on the younger side. He'll take over hopefully soon for Aaron Jones in the near future. And, now you've got 3 really good running backs there.
This might be a good time to jump in and say our guy here is getting Mr. Bijan.
Oh, perfect. Yes, thank you.
That's a bit of a game changer there.
Yeah, just a tiny bit of a game changer.
Wow.
I mean, this is 2 running back, 2 flex league, correct? He's got to start all 4 of those running backs every week.
That's badass.
You have to.
Or do you flip one for a wide receiver?
That's what I'm doing.
I think it's a good idea, definitely, to do. Who would you flip? Would you do Eckler because he's the
Pollard.
oldest?
Put
and he
Eckler
gives
on the
you
block.
most?
28 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point if you're looking long term.
You can
Sell
get
him
what
to
you
Maud
want
Bib.
for Eckler.
But if you flipped Bijan, like what would you get though? Like
Flip
you can get
Bijan?
any wide receiver that you want, pretty much. Like maybe
That's
go to
right.
Maud.
Attack
Maybe
the
take
Pat
101.
Mahomes team and get what you want.
Right. Like who, you know what I mean? You need a running back. I need a wide receiver.
Maud,
Yeah.
if you're listening, don't do it.
I know. Well, he already listened. We said don't do it. Resist the
Yeah.
urge.
He's probably
Don't
tuned out
do
by
it.
this point.
Don't do it.
I'm a big T. Higgins guy, so I honestly think T. Higgins is one of those rare number twos on an offense that's a top 12 receiver. So I think he's set with wide receiver. So that would be the place to upgrade, but I don't think you have to. I should say. I think that's the way to do it, especially with Bijan going in your RB room. You can stand pat and make the run. Maybe upgrade at quarterback if you're not comfortable with
I was going to
Watson.
say you could even trade one of these quarterbacks. You don't need Dak and Watson in one quarterback league.
Right, unless you're super gun shy about injuries to somebody, I don't play like that in a 1 QB league. You just waiver wire a guy after that, in my opinion. Unless you've got someone who's got a really bad track record, but you know their upside's worth it.
And if you're unlucky with injuries, like it's probably not your year.
Right, there's nothing you can do. It happens to everybody. If you play fantasy long enough, you will have the year where 6 of your guys go out in the first 8 weeks. Probably multiple times.
Yeah, we've all been there. All right, I think that brings us to our final team of the league, and that's
Mr.
over in the Southwest Division, and it's Voda for Dennis.
So Voda.
This is the team that's got like half the first round picks as well.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect way to end this.
Are we gonna let Zach talk about Trevor Lawrence?
You don't want that. We'll be here all night.
How long? We're already going pretty long. I don't think we got time for that one.
No, we don't.
Anyway, Voda. So he tries hard. Loves the league. I got to be honest, Voda. This is the team I've been thinking the longest about. It's not apples to apples, but 4 years ago in my main dynasty league, I was in a similar spot where you are now. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid. Your team is a long way away. A long way. But rebuilding can be a lot of fun if you take the right perspective. And you're off to a good start. You got 4 first-round picks this year, so that's great, way to kickstart things and get some energy and have people to cheer for. It did say in the description that you lack some patience at times. Like, I'm just telling you right now, like 2025 is like if everything, right? If everything hits, 2025 is the first year you're going to be anywhere decent. Just be prepared now. That said, I'm excited for you. Like I said, rebuilding can be a lot of fun. So I ranked your guys. Jameson Williams is your 1. And that kind of says everything right there. If that's your top asset, regardless, I think the dude was electric speed wise. I still have never seen a guy in college like just separate with pure speed like he has. It's just incredible. J.K. Dobbins, love him. I think he's poised for a good year. Trevor Lawrence really broke out towards the last half of the year last year. He could be taking that next step up to that top echelon of quarterbacks. Pacheco, same thing. Great second half of the year. So those 4 guys are, they're young and they're going someplace. After that, you got some kind of upside injury kind of guys. You got Darnell Mooney, who, I think he should be ready for training camp. And then as Ryan has said, sometimes it really helps bringing in that alpha for the number 2, for the number 1 to become the number 2.
He was best with Allen Robinson, and I think he can do the same type of thing with DJ Moore now.
80 catch, 1,000 yards. He did that as a second-year player, so he's a good guy. He's a good. Greg Dortch, we mentioned him already. At times, volume monster. That's my 6th. 7th, I have Chuba Hubbard. I got a lot of handcuff running back guys just because you just got to hope that they hit their value and you can flip them when the time comes. Hunter Renfrow, he might be getting a deal. They brought in Jacoby Myers, kind of says what you need to know. I feel like that's kind of overlaying strengths as far as like slot possession kind of guys. Isaiah Spiller, Eckler is, getting up there. He is a smaller guy, so maybe Spiller could get a couple weeks where he has the run of it. And then Zamir White, with Josh Jacobs, saying that he wants to hold out for a good deal. Maybe Zamir has some run. And again, like I said, you're going to have to make deals. You're going to have to take some risks here. And so hold on to these handcuff running backs and hope, be smart as far as when you try to strike these deals, hit these contending teams, and maybe you get, some future picks that can help reload high upside guys. So like I said, I think JMO, Lawrence, maybe Pacheco line up your timeline. But the rest I'd be looking to sell. And honestly, anybody in this lineup, if someone comes with a good offer, I would deal them right away. The next 2 years should be all about acquiring picks and players who haven't peaked yet. It definitely sucks. Sucks donating your buy-in to a champion every year. I get it. But when you turn around, it'll be so worth it if you go like a true, Phoenix from the ashes kind of thing. I'd be on the lookout for players who get hurt and try and buy them. Players with potentially expanding roles, and then just honestly, just depth. You need some help, man. I'd be willing to keep a lot of these running backs I've already mentioned, just hoping that they hit their parts. All right, tough parts out of the way. Let's talk draft, because that's what this team's all about, right? That's what you're looking forward to.
That's the fun part.
Right. So every league's different. I don't know how as far as what positions get valued more highly. That said, this draft should be an investment in drafting over past your 23 season. Don't worry about right now. Worry about 24, 25, 26, AKA avoid running back. Now, maybe if somebody falls to you who's really good that shouldn't fall to you, take them. But I'd be looking at wide receivers with this 103 or 104. There's 4 really good ones. Pick your 2 that you like. The 111, the 112, it's hard to project because you don't know how those 6 picks are going to go in between you. I would still stick with a non-running back. I think one of those picks has to be a tight end. You don't have a tight end in your roster. There's 3 good guys in this draft. I would pick one of them. And then the other one, the 112, it's hard to say. I would maybe consider flipping it if you can get a second or third year player who hasn't really broken out yet, or maybe coming off injury. I'd consider QB, maybe Anthony Richardson, if you like him. The key thing is adding someone whose value will increase. The 12th guy drafted can be tough to get, hit on. So I'd take the guy that has a path to stardom. I would swing for the fences. It's your 4th pick in the first round. Hopefully you're adding, like I said, those 2 wide receivers that you feel confident in. You're getting one of those top 3 tight ends. You should be pretty confident with those 3 guys. That last first round pick, either flip it or go for someone that can hit the stars. And then I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to hurt leverage in your lineup. Leverage in your league. Same thing with Blair and grow it out. I've looked at these teams. I thought a lot about them. If you want to DM me at Madison_Madman, I'll be happy to give more details. I just didn't want to hurt your leverage because, like I said, I think Voda really needs to make some moves in this league, and I don't want to be giving away the blueprint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the one thing to kind of think about with this doing it for the first time. It's like, oh crap, did we just screw somebody over by accident?
So Dennis and I, our home league, we paid last offseason for some guys to do the same thing. And one of our gripes about it was these dudes just straight up told everybody what to do to everybody. And we were like, we don't want to do it that way. So yeah, we both had the idea of with our division, hit us up on Twitter, go to our DMs. We're more than happy to help you guys out because we love doing this stuff. But at the same time, that way we can give you a little bit more honed in advice without being hey, you should go to this guy and try and get blank and blank from him for blank and blank, because then that guy's going to be oh, screw you, I want more. So yeah, hit us all up on Twitter. We're happy to help.
Yeah.
Who in that podcast last year, who did they say had the best team? I forget.
Oh, it was Dennis.
Oh, okay. I'm just okay.
Oh, okay.
He did just talk about rebuilding a couple years ago too, so don't let him get too humble. You know?
That's very true. Now, the one thing I have to say about Voda here is that with the keeper settings and not full on dynasty, your path to flipping this can be faster.
Yeah.
Because if you play this draft right,
point.
you could load up on ammo that you could just trade off this season. So that kind of gives you an extra layer to try and leap yourself into the rebuilding process a little bit further.
That's an interesting strategy.
Mhm.
Yeah, just take a bunch of guys you can flip, get those draft picks for those future years, and then you're in real good shape for your rebuild starting next year.
Yeah, because you hold the keys. What is it? Is it 5 first-round picks we counted up?
I think it's 4.
You hold the keys. Like, you can really screw some people over in that first round where they want somebody, and you can make that flip happen big time. And like Schultz said, it's not dynasty; it is just keeper. So there's more movement off season to off season than a dynasty league. So your options are much wider.
Cool. That was our last team there. I think we're gonna go around here. You know what? I was gonna say we're all gonna say our winner, but we all know we're all on the same boat here, and it's Mwad
Yeah.
Dave.
Let's go.
For sure. Sorry to everybody
Dave?
else, but
Waddle should not be allowed to be a flex. I'm just
Don't
gonna put
fuck
that
this
out
up,
there.
Mod Dave.
Yeah, like
Don't fuck it up.
respect
No
to
pressure.
everybody in the league.
It's gonna be
but
real embarrassing if you don't win this league.
we're gonna
Gotta
make
give
you
the
a
best
dunce
team
cap if you lose.
And these guys did they ordered a second podcast, so we'll be catching up with you during the season.
Well, I can't wait. I'm invested in this.
Dude,
You
I'm
better
so
be in
happy
first
about that.
place. You better be in first place, undefeated, killing these guys.
So I'm gonna throw it out there that I'll
Some
give the
dark horse.
option. You guys can pick a postseason or a trade deadline. We are open for either one of your choice. I think both would be very fun.
Or you can order a third one. We'll do both.
That too.
Alex is shilling hard.
Always
guys
selling. Gotta
Do
be
you guys
selling.
want to
Right?
talk some dark horse teams, some non-mod teams that we really like? Because I
Yeah,
got one I
so-
really like.
Let's go around and each of us will throw one dark horse out real quick before we get out of here. And Dennis, you apparently got one you love, so hit us.
Dude, I think Log Legends is a legit freaking team, man. It
to
needs a
pick a
little
different one,
luck
though.
with the older players as far as Keenan and Evans and Nuke and Waller staying healthy. But if they do, that lineup's absolute balling out. And so I think they could definitely contend. I like that team a lot. And like I said, all props to Maud, but I'm an underdog guy. So I'm cheering for you, Log Legends.
Yeah, I like that squad a lot too. With the top 3 running backs. I mean, you're looking at potentially 3 top 12 running backs, and
Right.
you've still got CD, Evans, Nuck, Keenan Allen. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this team too. I think Log Legends might be your leading contender past Mwad Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to change mine now, so don't go to me next.
Oh.
What about Sporty?
I like
It's got
Sporty
Lamar
too.
Jackson. I think Lamar gives you a shot. He's got to work on his running backs, but if he hits a running back, he's got DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore. Maybe Traylon Burks has a breakout season. I don't think this guy's going to be the champion, but Lamar, I think those guys give you a chance.
This
And
guy's
he's
going to be a
102.
pain in the ass, that's for sure. In the good kind of way.
102 is helpful for this running back situation for sure.
Yeah.
I
Go
kind
ahead,
of like Blar. I kind of like Blar looking at it more and more.
Ooh.
I do.
I think you're right with that one.
I really like, obviously, Jalen Hurts. We've talked about it. Having one of those top 4 guys that I have in that like elite tier, it gives you Travis Kelce style positional advantage every single week, and it really does. And Hurts led the league in points per game last year, so I think that having him gives you that positional advantage. Stevenson is a locked-in RB1. Akers was the RB4 over the last 6 weeks of last season. And he got Zach Evans in the 6th round as competition for touches with Stafford coming back, Kupp coming back. I think that he's, I think he's a dark horse to finish as a top 15 running back, just like this team would be more of a dark horse to win. James Cook, it's so as I'm looking at this, it's the wide range of outcomes for some of these guys. James Cook, big time upside. Gabe Davis, I mean, we all hate Gabe Davis after last year, but are we going to be pissed off when we don't draft him and he finishes as a top 12 wide receiver this year? Damn right, we're going to be pissed off when that happens. So
don't count on
it. It's possible, and that's his wide receiver 4. Like, he could flip Rodgers if he wants to for some decent capital. Komet at tight end, whatever. He gets 85 to 90 targets a year. He'll be perfectly fine. Who cares? I think they have a shot, especially looking at the rest of the division. He's the runaway favorite, in my opinion, for that division, even with the Tyreek Hill wide receiver squad with Grow It Out.
Him having Amon-Ra too is just badass because I think in that offense, I mean, you're going to get your splash from JMO when he comes back, but I think no matter what, Amon-Ra is just going to be that like 100 catch dude every year.
10 targets every week.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like kind of a doubter on him. Like I wasn't a huge believer, but it's just like, damn, once this guy started, it's just undeniable.
Watching his brother in the league first didn't help me with anything with that.
Good Lord, God, don't get me started on EQ St. Brown.
I live literally like 15 minutes from Notre Dame, and that's where that St. Brown went. So of course everyone around here thought he'd be good.
Yeah, I'm a Notre Dame college football fan myself, actually. So I watch nothing but tight ends play football in college and then randomly end up on NFL rosters, and they all start.
I didn't say I was a fan. I said I just live here. I'm not really much of a college fan. I am for like gambling and prospects. I just don't have a team.
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch. I put so much into NFL. I can't divide my focus like that.
Right.
Same
Not with 4 kids, man. It's too much.
Dude, it's enough with one.
Right.
All right, boy.
I'm excited to catch up on this league halfway through the year or at end of the year or maybe both. I think it should be a competitive league. I'm pumped.
Yeah, dude, this is fun. I'm excited to see how this league shapes up, especially to see some of the middling teams that we talked about where you've got, a month into the season, you're going to have to make a decision on where you're going. I'm excited to see where, the way the landscape of this changes. And then also to see how the drafts play out. I think this is going to be a really unique league and fun one to pay attention to.
Absolutely. You guys want to share our Twitter handles in case they want to DM us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I'm at Madison_Madman.
Yep. And I'm at Triple FTP. I mean, that's everything for my social media. I got Facebook and everything too. So if you don't have Twitter and you want to go to other social media sites, I'm on pretty much everything at the same handle.
You can find me at Schultz. If you're watching, you can see it down there on the screen. If not, it's SCHU1TZY.
Yeah, I'm at A_JohnsonFF. And you can also join the Yards Per Fantasy Discord. We'll help you in there as well.
Definitely.
Hell yeah. Go follow all of us. Follow Yards Per. Read some awesome articles. Listen to some other awesome podcasts. Watch us fire interns on Twitter like Elon Musk. It's great times. There's no rules.
Put your shirt back on.
Literally, all right, fine. I won't take my shirt off. With all of that, I'm Zach. I already mentioned that. We had Alex up there, Dennis. We had Ryan. This was honestly super cool. A lot of fun. Can't wait to follow up with you guys.
Can't wait.
We're here for you if you need anything.